Tonight, the Hall School of Journalism celebrates the people it's named after.
Plus, Troy University played host to a comedic musical duo. Stay tuned. TrojanVision Nightly News starts now.
From the High Definition Digital Production Center on the Troy campus, with news from Troy University locations around the world, this is Troy TrojanVision Nightly News.
Hello and welcome to Troy TrojanVision Nightly News for April the 13th, 2012. I'm Dustin Carroll.
And I'm Courtney Steele. Thank you for joining us this evening. A 19-time Emmy Award winner, nationally recognized journalist, and now the host of his own show, Stossel, which can be found on the Fox Business Network, was on Troy's campus today. John Stossel stopped in Troy today to promote his new book, No They Can't. Stossel gave a lecture in the Claudia Crosby Theater and following with the book signing. Stossel says he has a very clear message for attendees.
What message is really this one, which is that the politicians say, we can solve your problems, and I wrote this book to say, no, they can't, but that individuals perform miracles that governments can't perform.
Stossel's book is available in Barnes & Noble on Troy's campus. Stossel was brought to Troy University by the Johnson Center for Political Economy.
Troy University's Hall School of Journalism celebrated its 40th year in existence by honoring the men the school is named for. Justin Garner gives us a look at this year's Journalism Symposium.
Troy University's Hall School of Journalism and Communications held its annual symposium Friday afternoon in the Claudia Crosby Theater. This year's topic was on the radical, influential journalist which the school was named after.
This year we're focusing on the Hall family of newspaper editors and journalists. Grover C. Hall was editor of the Montgomery Advertiser from 1926 to 1941, and he won the Pulitzer Prize in 1928 for editorials denouncing vigilante floggings, which were done largely by members of the Ku Klux Klan.
In the 1920s and 30s in Alabama, if you wanted to be elected to high office, you had to have the backing of the Klan. And they went up against the Klan, and they said, it's not right to, vigilantism is wrong, and wearing a mask is cowardly. Well, those are pretty inflammatory words, and they got death threats, but they kept at it. And so not only does it give us a little bit of our own history, but it also inspires us to realize that to be a good journalist, we can't just always do the safe thing. We have to do the right thing. It means we need to know what the right thing is. And it's not necessarily what's the most popular thing, but it is what is best for all people.
Troy faculty members say that Grover C. Hall is a journalist that all journalism and communications students can learn from.
I would hope that our students will see how good journalism makes a difference. Grover Hall spoke out when the political leaders of the state were not willing to confront the misdoings of the Klan, and he made a difference. He, as a result of what he did, what he said, and what he wrote, as a result of that, people were prosecuted.
And now the current editor of the newspaper that once hosted the monumental Hall columns hopes that Troy University students learn to be just as courageous as Hall himself.
My plan is to talk about the fact that the issues are not all that different, that there are still very important issues to be vetted and shared with readers just in different ways than the 20s and the 30s and the 40s.
Judson Garner, Troy TrojanVision News.
The Hall School of Journalism will officially celebrate its 40th anniversary with an alumni dinner tomorrow night.
Intentionally laughing out loud is the last thing most people expect to do at a classical musical concert. Well, last night, Troy University got a visit from a classic music duo whose comedic antics made them internet sensations. Deatra Montgomery has the story.
Classical music mixed with comedy. Many people would have never put the two together. However, two men have thought outside the box when it comes to music and entertainment.
We started as a Goodisman and Jew many years ago in England, actually, for the first time. We were very inspired by Monty Python, and also we were very inspired by Mozart. So it's basically Mozart meets Monty Python.
But why did they decide to mix classical music with entertainment?
We just felt that
musicians were taking themselves way too seriously, and the whole classical music world was a bit too stuffy. And we thought, wait a minute, if we mix it with theatre and comedy, maybe there'll be some fresh air let in.
Egu Desmond and Jew tries to make every act full of fun and excitement, along with a few unexpected twists.
It's always in development. That's a wonderful thing. We always change things around, and we always try to surprise the audience. We try to surprise each other.
Yes,
sometimes in the show. Anything can happen in a little nightmare music.
That's why it's a nightmare.
They are known to perform for many different people all around the world. However, here in America is where the duo feels their shows are more prosperous.
Usually we have a wonderful public. We find actually, especially the US.
You know, everybody's kind of good-humored, and we think that's the reason why our show is more successful in America.
While the two musicians enjoy performing for students, students have just as much fun watching them.
To play in front of students is an incredible thing because the energy is just a completely different one.
I like it. It's really funny. I've seen a couple videos, literally 2, and it's hilarious.
Egu Desmond and Jew started off as just classmates, but now they're a viral hit because of their wacky antics, vibrant personalities, and most of all, their shared love of music. Deatra Montgomery, Troy TrojanVision News.
And apparently Troy is a good place for a warm-up because the duo's next performance will be in New York's famed Carnegie Hall. Most people would assume that with libraries, the majority of the reading would be done inside the library itself.
Well, last night, Troy University Library took advantage of the nice weather to hold a poetry reading in honor of National Library Week outside. Kendra Richards has the story.
And National Library Week. For the first time, the English department, along with the Troy Campus Library, pulled together a night of poetry reading. Students and faculty members gathered in front of the library to show their support and love for poetry.
What we're hoping for is that students, faculty, and staff come with a poem that they're going to read for about 2 minutes just to share what's on their heart, because poetry is such a beautiful thing, and it's kind of like having a song that you actually get to speak in rhythm and meter. So we're hoping that they come to just learn about poetry and that it really can be an exciting and entertaining event.
Assistant Professor Patricia Waters believes that poetry is an exciting way to get students involved to learn more about the English language. She believes that students have a natural insight to poetry.
If you think about it, all music that we love in popular music, songs, lyrics, poems, they all flow together. So people are poets whether they realize it or not.
Although some poetry may not seem as interesting to some students, there are some poems that can be funny and entertaining. Troy University's very own Blake Hemberg came out to show his favorite piece of literature entitled The Jabberwocky.
The poem was Lewis Carroll's The Jabberwocky. It was written in Through the Looking Glass and was meant to be nonsense rhyming so that you could see how language could be logical, more to entertain and less to learn. But entertainment, just to have a good time, I suppose. And if you want to express yourself, then this is a good way to do it, yeah.
Kendra Richards, Troy, TrojanVision News.
In addition to National Library Week last night, events was held in honor of National Poetry Month as well.
And now taking a look at news from around the state. In Birmingham, authorities say a window washer plunged 13 stories down the side of a hospital tower and survived the fall. The worker was getting onto a platform outside the building when his safety equipment malfunctioned. The gears slowed his descent and he landed on fresh landscaping that might have broken his fall.
In Montgomery, the Attorney General has brought together the number of state agencies to form an alliance to fight public corruption. Luther Strange has tapped Special Prosecutor Matt Hart to lead the division. Hart says officials who violate the public trust can expect to be held accountable regardless of their political affiliation or position.
And also in Montgomery, the House has passed a bill to allow schools to be flexible with their schedules to start later in the summer and extend summer vacations for some families. The sponsor says starting the school year later in the year would increase tax money coming into the state by extending summer vacation.
Still to come on TrojanVision Nightly News, the Trojan baseball team will hit the field tonight for the first game of the weekend series against the Blue Raiders. Danielle Percival will be in with details later in sports.
But first, George Zimmerman remains in Sanford, Florida jail, charged with second-degree murder for killing Trayvon Martin. We will have the details of that story and more when we come back.
Plant inspiration. Provide youth with the creative tools and skills to cultivate it. be amazed at what can grow. Adobe Youth Voices and the Peapod Foundation. Learn more at plantandinspire.org.
If you can learn one thing in life, especially if you go into business, it's how to communicate and how to work with others. And I do think Troy taught me that.
Troy reaches out to people who they see their commitment to public service.
Troy just attracts students that want to give back to the community, that want to give back all across the world.
We want to educate the mind to think, the heart to feel, the body to act. We want to enable our students to go out into this world and make a difference.
Troy University, in class, online, within reach. Troy.edu.
From the high-definition digital production studios of Troy University, you're watching the award-winning TrojanVision Nightly News.
And now for a look at what's happening across the nation and around the world, we go to Dustin Carroll at the Global News Desk. Dustin?
Thanks, Courtney. George Zimmerman's lawyer is hoping to get his client out of jail as he waits for his trial. Randall Pinkston shows us people in Sanford are calling for level heads as they make a case its way through the justice system.
Florida ministers are asking for unity now that George Zimmerman is behind bars for shooting Trayvon Martin to death.
People in the community feel as though the process of justice is working. Reconciliation and healing is fostered out of an environment where there is repentance and forgiveness.
Yes, sir. It could be months before Zimmerman goes on trial. The 28-year-old Neighborhood Watch volunteer says he shot the unarmed teenager in self-defense. He has a bond hearing scheduled next Friday.
He deserves a bond because there's certainly questions about how this happened, and there's legitimate defenses that may be developed and presented.
At a surprise status hearing, lawyers questioned whether the judge overseeing the second-degree murder case may have a conflict of interest. Her husband works with an attorney who had contact with Zimmerman. Authorities are revealing new details about George Zimmerman's jail quarters, where he's being held in isolation because of concerns about his safety. He's being held in a 67-square-foot cell. He can't watch TV but has access to the jail's commissary. This receipt shows he's already spent nearly $80 on incidentals, including snacks and playing cards. Zimmerman is expected to plead not guilty when he's formally arraigned May 29th. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Sanford, Florida.
Protesters filled the streets of Syria on the second day of a UN-backed ceasefire. Activists say government forces killed 3 demonstrators despite the demand to stop the violence. Monica Villamizar reports from London.
Thousands of pro-democracy demonstrators cheered and chanted in these online videos, declaring a revolution for all Syrians. They rallied across the country, trusting the ceasefire would keep them safe. But activists say government security forces are still on the attack and killed several protesters. This amateur video claims to show heavy gunfire in the rebel stronghold of Homs. The United Nations says a team of about a dozen unarmed observers is on standby to enter Syria and help enforce the ceasefire.
We are under no illusion here that we have come to the end of this conflict. This is only the beginning.
UN officials say at least 1 million people in Syria need urgent humanitarian aid. This young Syrian refugee says, "We do not believe President Assad's lies. We do not think he will silence the guns and set the Syrian people free." The army still has tanks and soldiers in cities across the country, even though the peace plan requires them to pull out. Monica Villamizar, CBS News.
And that wraps things up from the Global News Desk. To see more stories from across the country and around the world, like the next generation of yellow cabs that have been unveiled in New York City, you can tune in to TrojanVision Global News right after the nightly news. Now back to you, Courtney.
Thanks, Dustin. And now Danielle Percival joins with a look at sports. So Danielle, I noticed that the warm weather returned just in time for us to see the Trojan baseball team warm up here at home for a home baseball game.
Well, that's right, Courtney. They are on a little bit of a hot streak right now. Had a good game Tuesday night. Coming into tonight's matchup with Middle Tennessee, they've got a 3-game home series, so time to get out there and support the Trojans. We'll get into that in just a minute. Right now, let's get to some women's basketball. Okay. It may be Friday the 13th, but Troy is hoping Shonda Rigby is the good luck charm the Trojan women's basketball team needs. The new women's basketball coach was on campus today and getting familiar with her new home. Rigby has over 20 years of coaching experience, but this will be her first chance at the Division I level. She has, however, had success at getting her student athletes at Pensacola State College to the Division I level. In the past 5 years, 100%, meaning all her players at PSC, have graduated and moved on to play D1 ball. Rigby says she's excited about the future, and there was no question Troy was the right place for her.
First of all, it's a great fit for my family, and also the administration here, they want what I want, which is to put a fantastic product in that new arena next year. And my overall and ultimate goal is to have the women's basketball team be a proper reflection of the institution it reflects, and so that it represents. So, I mean, Troy's a great forward-thinking university, and that's what I want the basketball team to be.
Coach Rigby will have her first meeting with the team on Tuesday. Moving into baseball, the Trojan baseball team will look to build on their win against Jack State as they head into a conference weekend against Middle Tennessee. The Trojans ended a 6-game losing streak Tuesday night with a win against the Gamecocks. This weekend, they'll look to pull closer to 500 on the season as they sit at 14-18 currently. They'll have to do it against the Blue Raiders, who are 20-13 this season and 8-4 in conference play. The Trojans have only managed 3 wins in 12 tries in Sunbelt action this season after finishing as the conference champions just a season ago. Head coach Bobby Pierce knows having a few days off to practice, though, could prove important.
Recently, due to the schedule, hope to take advantage of those days because a very, very good Middle Tennessee team is coming in. They've pitched tremendous this year. They've got a good lineup. Going to be a big, big challenge for our team, but we're at home, and we certainly hope to win that series.
The Trojans and the Blue Raiders are set to begin the series in about 45 minutes at Riddle Pace Field. First pitch is set for 6 o'clock, so Trojan fans, you still have time to make it out and support the team. The softball team was in Florida yesterday and defeated Florida A&M 4-2. Their Sunshine State road trip continues this weekend as they take on Florida Atlantic. They'll have a 3-game series against the Owls, opening with a doubleheader on Saturday. The Trojans sit at 25-15 this season, but the Owls are almost the exact opposite. They post a record of 12-27 and are only 2-8 in conference play. Now, the Trojans were shut out in their last 2 conference games against Western Kentucky, and the Owls dropped 2 of 3 against North Texas last weekend. Head coach Melanie Davis knows this weekend could be important for her team.
Well, our kids just have to be strong. You know, they've had a lot of games on the road. They've got to, they've just got to focus on it. It's a long trip down, but we try to find the positives. We're going to take some motivational movies with us as we go down and do that in between our studies and try to get some rest as well. We just got to dig deep. Tough times don't last, tough people do, and that's our philosophy, and hopefully they can carry that philosophy.
The action begins tomorrow night at 5 with the second game of the doubleheader to follow. The final game of the series will be Sunday morning at 11. While softball isn't in town, baseball is. Got the game tonight. Trojan fans, get out there, show some support for the team, and of course to stay updated with all things Trojan sports, you can tune into Trojan Sports Now tonight at 7 and 11. Catch anything that you've missed that's gone on throughout the week.
All righty there. Be sure to be out there. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you,
Danielle. Still to come on TrojanVision Nightly News, instead of using sand, Troy students will use cans to build castles as a way to fight hunger in Pike County. We will learn how in Trojan Talk.
Plus, seems like the warm temperatures are creeping back into our lives, and I know I'm glad. Tiffany will be able to get those temperatures we've become so used to.
Hi, I'm Alton Brown, and I used to have a goat. Where did my goat go? Well, it went to a family who really needed it, just like the heifer cow I used to have and the water buffalo, which was really too big for my place anyway. Now, why send livestock? Why not say tractors? Because giving an animal is like giving someone a small business. All that wool, the milk, the eggs turn into income for medicine, school, clothing, a better home, a sustainable livelihood. It even produces fertilizer for crops. And of course, it makes more livestock, because animals make baby animals. That's what they do. The next thing you know, the family that you gave your gift to is passing on the gift of the animal's offspring to another family who does the same thing, and so on, until pretty soon you have helped to lift an entire community out of poverty, all with your gift to Heifer International. That is a recipe for lasting change.
From the high-definition digital production studios of Troy University, you're watching the award-winning TrojanVision Nightly News.
And now Tiffany Lester joins us with weather.
Well, Tiffany, I know early in the week we had some cooler temperatures, and as the week's gone on, it seems like it's warmed up a little bit.
It definitely has. Today was much warmer than Monday and Tuesday, but those cooler temperatures and then the drastic rise in temperatures could be bringing some rain into our area, and I'll get into that in just a minute. First, let's take a look at our TrojanVision campus snapshot overlooking the beautiful Bibb Graves Quad. A very nice day out. It doesn't look too cloudy, but it is nice and warm out there. As we take a look at our current conditions, it says it's partly cloudy, but as we just saw, it's very, very clear out there. Temperature is about 78 degrees, dew point 40 degrees, humidity 26%, barometer at 30.15 and steady, and winds coming from the north at 3 miles per hour. For today's stats, we saw a high of 79, a low of 50, zero rain in our area. The sun rose at 6:16 and is set to set at 7:12. As we take a look at temperatures from around the state, we see just 70s all throughout Alabama, high 70s. Birmingham with a low at 64 and Mobile at the high with 80 degrees, but Troy at a nice 77 degrees, very, very warm and comfortable out. As I said, throughout the southeast, they're also seeing those high 70s and even getting into the 80s in Florida. But as you get into the Carolinas, they're seeing those 60-degree temperatures. But as you branch out to Louisiana, Arkansas, they're seeing those 80-degree temperatures, and Texas is seeing those high 80s as well. As you get into the western portion of the U.S., they're seeing those 50s, and even in the northern portion, those 48. So it is very cool there. But in our area, it is a nice 70 degrees. For the current service map, just some cold fronts moving in, some low-pressure systems, high-pressure systems. A lot of action going on. This stationary front just covering the central portion of the U.S. And in our area, we see not very much going on. Some high pressure systems, just very, very clear in our area, basically. But travel weather over the next 12 hours, be aware that there is some rain in some parts of the United States, but Alabama, Florida, Georgia, very clear. Mississippi, Louisiana, very clear. But the precipitation forecast for the next 48 hours shows that there is a chance of rain in the Florida Peninsula and in the other parts of the United States. And for Saturday, we see that there's a mixture of wide range of different things going on. The Rockies are seeing just snow and ice even, and then severe weather throughout the midsection of the U.S. But in our area, as I said, very clear. Sunday, very clear again, but as that weather moves to the east, it is creeping into our area. But on Sunday, still very clear. Monday is when we start seeing a little bit of that rain, half an inch to an inch of rain. Parts of Texas, the majority of Louisiana, and Mississippi, just very, very rainy into the Great Lakes. But on Tuesday, that rain will cover the majority of Alabama and a small portion of Florida. Tonight's forecast, we see clear skies, light and variable winds coming from the east at about 6 miles per hour, a low of 52 degrees. And for tomorrow's forecast, very sunny skies, a very warm and beautiful day. So get out there, enjoy the start of the weekend. Winds coming from the southeast at 11 miles per hour to cool us down from that high of 83. And for the 4-day forecast, we see that Saturday is very sunny, clear skies, high of 83, low of 59. Sunday, the clouds start coming in with a high of 84, but a low of 63. Monday, it gets cloudier and cloudier as we get into the end of the week, but the high for Monday is 81, and the low for Monday is 61. And Tuesday, there's a chance for isolated thunderstorms, as I said earlier in the weather forecast, but there's a high of 83 on Tuesday. So it should be a very beautiful weekend, nice and sunny, nice and warm. But as we get into Tuesday, we should be seeing that higher chance of rain, and probably for Wednesday as well. So just enjoy the weekend while it's here, the clear weather, because next week it will be rainy.
Well, hopefully, yeah, the temperatures will be great this weekend, and everybody will be prepared for the rain next week.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany.